Hey, welcome to Satisfied Personal Finance. Today I'm going to talk about the similarities I have with Joseph's schooling. We both swim. He swims a little faster than me, but who's counting? Right? We both serve NS, and we both have the same number of miles. Actually, I think I have more miles than him, and here I'm going to boast about the number of miles I have and also share with you some of the ways I got my miles, so that if you want to collect miles for your next holiday, you can also do so with the tips I'm providing. So how many miles do I have exactly? I have actually more than 1,030,000 miles in my KrisFlyer account. In my Citibank account, I still have about 200,000 points, which is about 80,000 miles when converted. And with my OCBC, I have about 150,000 almost in miles. And in my UOB, I have about 16,000 miles, and my DBS, I also have about 16,000 miles worth of points. So in total, I have about 1.3 million miles, and I think that's a little bit more than what Joseph Schooling has, and possibly a little bit more than the average mile collector, I hope, right? And I spent about 4 years collecting this amount of miles. I started in July 2018, and now it's March 2022. Yeah, so just under 4 years. So what exactly can I do with 1.3 million miles? I can actually go to Japan to and fro 13 times on business class, or to San Francisco 6 times, again to and fro on business class. Or I could buy an iPhone, an iPad, a MacBook, and an Apple Watch and still have enough miles left over for a round the world ticket in business class. Or I could bring my entire family and a significant other, if I had one, for a round the world trip in business class. Significant other, if I had one.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just...
So for those new to the game of miles, 1.3 million miles is quite a lot of miles, right? I spent 4 years of my life farming every single one of them, and I'm still waiting for the whole pandemic thing to settle so I can finally use my miles. The last time I posted about the number of miles I had, someone came and say, oh, that's actually the normal rate for a miles enthusiast, to which I say, I'm a cashback user. And of course the crowd went wild, or so I thought in my mind. And yeah, I actually prefer cashback for those who have been following my blog for some time. So I think this is quite an accomplishment, right? I prioritize cashback, but I still got 1.3 million miles in 4 years. So how on earth did I collect so many miles? The first tip I have to share with you is that you should optimize your card strategy. Now, if you're using a 1.2 mile card to count your miles, there's really not much point because you will take forever to clock even a ticket to somewhere like Bangkok or nearby Bali, not to mention further places like Japan or USA, right? So ditch those 1.2 to 1.4 miles per dollar card. You have to go for at least 4 miles per dollar, and that of course requires a little bit of homework. You need to find out which card is the best optimized for your particular area of spend. For example, if you are buying things online, you should be using the DBS Women's Card or UOB Preferred Platinum Card or something similar like the HSBC Revolution Card, because these cards give you 4 miles per dollar as opposed to your pathetic 1.2 mile per dollar card. And when you're buying electronics and there are big ticket items, you should be looking at the OCBC Titanium Rewards and so forth. So individual card reviews, I have them on my website. You can check them out, right? I'm not going to list every single card and what they're good for, but this is something you have to do a little bit of homework to see what card to use for what spend that you have to maximize the number of miles you get per dollar you spend. Say you want to have a return trip to Tokyo on business class, you will require 94,000 miles if you're traveling via SQ, and if you're using a 1.2 mile per dollar card, you need to spend almost $80,000 just to get enough miles to redeem a ticket. Whereas if you use a 4 miles per dollar card, your spending is substantially reduced to just under $25,000, and that's actually quite realistic, right? If you can spend about $25,000 over the next 1 or 2 years, you can get a return trip to Japan on business class, and that's a lot more achievable than spending almost $80,000 on a 1.2 mile per dollar card. So I cannot stress this enough. Stop using 1.2 mile per dollar card. Stop using 1.4 mile per dollar card. You need to go to at least 4 miles per dollar. Otherwise, you're not going to fly anywhere. Stop using 1. Hey, if you like my stuff, press the like button and go over to satisfy.com/deals. You won't regret going there for attractive sign-up gifts. And thank you for keeping my channel going. While we're talking about optimizing your card strategy, you should also know that if you're a cashback person, sometimes points can be superior to cashback, even if you don't really like the idea of miles. Let's take for instance, you're buying $2,000 worth of air tickets online, And then you realize that most high-earned cashback cards actually do not give you a high-earn rate on the entirety of the $2,000. Right, so if you use a 1.5% cashback card, that's again quite pathetic. It's as good as using a 1.2 mile per dollar card. And no, don't use those kind of cards. Right, you should be looking at using something like the DBS Women's World Mastercard, and that gives you 4 miles per dollar. Now you can say, oh, you don't really like the miles, but you can actually convert those points into as much as 2 to 3% cashback, which is like double of your 1.5% cashback card. Another example I can give is, let's say you're at the electronics store and you're buying a big ticket item like a TV or a fridge, and you realize again most of your cashback cards do not give you the high cashback rate on the entire few $1,000s that you're spending, right? You are better off using something like the OCBC Titanium Rewards to get 4 miles per dollar on the entirety of the spend. And if you really don't want the miles, you can convert them into vouchers at a rate of about 2.7 to about 3%. So that's way better again than using a 1.5% cashback card. And if you keep those points and you accumulate enough, actually you might realize, hey, it's more worth it to redeem them for air tickets, especially once the pandemic is over. And you get more value for your buck than using a cashback card of like 1.5%. Now, if you're undecided whether you're a cashback or miles person, and if you're new to credit cards, that tends to be a dilemma, you can look at something like the HSBC Revolution, which collects you points, and at the end of the day, you can convert it to a reasonable cashback rate of about 2.5% or 4 miles per dollar. If you eventually realize you have enough points, you can redeem them for enough miles to go on a trip. So again, you should optimize your card strategy and read more tips on my Telegram and website. Another thing I do to get massive amounts of miles is to make use of promotions and make use of them hard. Right, in 2018, the whole reason why I got into the miles game was because Citibank was offering a 8 mile per dollar promo without any limit. And if you are familiar with the miles game, 4 miles per dollar tends to be the maximum that we get over the past few years, and 8 miles is unheard of. So at that time, a lot of people, including myself, we actually spent a lot of money prepaying our bills, buying vouchers and bringing forward our spend so that we can clock 8 miles per dollar, which is a lot of miles. I think I collected more than 200,000 miles in a single week that period of time because I got in quite late and there was only about a week and a half left to the end of the promo. And thinking back, I think I would have actually spent more on hindsight because that's just a once in a lifetime kind of deal, and you should really make full use of it when it's presented to you. And recently, SQ also offered 15% bonus if you converted your bank points to miles. And I also took advantage of that by converting hundreds of thousands of bank points into miles. And therefore, I got 15% bonus, which is not an insignificant number of miles. So when it comes to promos, you really have to keep your ear on the ground. And the best way to do so is to follow me on my Telegram, where I'll report on such groundbreaking promos such that you can use them and maximize them as hard as possible. I also use services like CardUp and iPayMy extensively to pay for things that are normally not payable using credit cards. And this allows me to earn cashback as well as miles by paying them a small service fee. Now, of course, you have to be mindful that the service fee is not too high by using promo codes. And if you go to my website, you can get promo codes for both services that reduce your first payment cost. And from time to time, they also have promo codes that reduce your service fee. So essentially, you're using your card to pay for stuff, you pay them a service fee, and you get miles or cashback in return. And whether or not it's worth it, of course, depends on the number of miles or cashback you get and the promo code that you're using to reduce your service fee. As someone who chases miles, you should definitely always be on the lookout on how you can make spend on your credit card. So there's going to be income tax upcoming, or perhaps you have mortgage every month. These services allow you to pay for such things that normally can't be paid using credit cards, using your credit cards to earn you card rewards like miles and cashback. Now, talking about using your credit card as much as possible, I also have Mile Meals, which is an affectionate term I use to refer to my friends who use my card on their spending because they are either uninterested in the game of miles and card rewards, or they are not eligible for credit cards in the first place. So it's up to you to work out something with someone you trust, be it a friend or relative. So for myself, I had a couple of friends and my mom who will put all their spending on my cards, and then I get all the miles, and then I treat them to dinner or I pass them some gifts from time to time. Most supplementary cards credit the rewards to the main card holder, but do check your terms and conditions just to be sure. Right, but of course, again, you must trust the person, otherwise you take your card, go and spend on all manners of things, and then stick you with the bill. And at the end of the day, to collect so many miles, you also need to make it a side hustle. Mile enthusiasts are really quite hardcore people. They spend a lot of time optimizing their card strategy, wondering what card to use, and just being obsessive over this in general. So if you are someone who don't like to micromanage your expenses and cards, you might not be able to clock miles as efficiently. So there's a price to pay for earning this many miles. To me, it's like a side job already. And if you calculate the amount of rewards I get from it, is it really worth the time and effort? Right? It takes a certain kind of personality, of course, and luckily for me, I'm someone who likes to calculate such things. I made it my site, I made it my YouTube channel. Yeah, so make it a side hustle if you really want to be serious about collecting a lot of miles like I did. Now, I do some of the hard work for you by keeping my ear on the ground and looking out for promos and deals, and I always update my Telegram to inform my members about it. So subscribe to my Telegram if you want to be updated on such things and make your life easier when you're collecting miles for your next trip. Now, if you like my content, drop me a like, right? Comment on how many miles you have and whether or not this kind of content is useful for you. And I'll see you next video.
Nobody can do it like me. Nobody.